In a world where comics, movies, games, rumors, and Kardashians come at you 24/7, 3 champions will rise to defend you from wasting precious time, money, and emojis. BK, Nate, and Derreck will show you how to do it the player way.
Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, it's on once again, Patron once again. That's right, with the air horn, this is your boy BK, back for another week, episode 15 with my co-captains Derreck.
Corrupting the system, and you already know, right here in Texas.
And Nate.
Hi.
Absolutely. Nothing more or less expected from us. I'm so excited to be back with you. This podcast is becoming quickly my favorite thing to do every single week.
Oh, yeah? I feel like it's a nice little bookend. I feel like once we start the one, whenever we record the week before, and then go into this one, that's the bookends of my week. Shout out to my kids, though. I do love my kids as well. They're also neat individual beings on the planet.
especially because Sunday is like one of those obscure days of the week where in some people's book it's the first day of the week and in other people's it's the last day of the week.
And for like nurses and people who don't work normal schedules, it's like the third day of the week and they're like, oh yeah? I don't even know what a Monday through Friday job looks like.
Before we got on the podcast, Nathan had a theory about what Sunday should be. What were you saying, Nate?
Well, I firmly believe that it should be considered the end of the week as opposed to the beginning of a new one.
Like the Friday, right?
Yeah.
I agree. I agree 100%.
I don't look forward to, after we do this, the rest of Sunday just kind of sucks.
It does. It absolutely. And like, as my schedule continues to like change, as the fall fastly approaches and show season kind of changes up for me, I'm going to have to kind of change up how I do editing of the show and everything. And so Sunday's going to become a really terrible day for me because I'll have to get a lot of the promotion and editing done on Sunday rather than kind of packing it into like Wednesday evening, early Thursday morning. So yeah, absolutely. I agree with you.
Whatever you need, man, we can do it the player way. We can do it live.
Hey, we always do it the Player Way. And in case you don't know, this is the Player Way podcast. The Player Way podcast is 5 hours of summer once a week. And absolutely, I did steal that from ABC One Saturday Morning from your childhood. But that's exactly what the Player Way podcast is. It's if you're an adult, if you're out of your 20s, when drinking is no longer the funnest thing to do all the time, when going out to the club till 3 o'clock in the morning is no longer a good idea because you got to get the kids up in the morning and that's not sexy to be like hungover. The Player Way podcast is for you because what we do is we take that hit for you. We absorb a lot of media and entertainment.
The Player Way.
That's right. And what we do is we digest it for you so that you can listen into it on Thursday whenever you decide to listen to it. Nice, as Derreck said, nice bookends. At the beginning of the episode, we're going to talk about what happened toward the beginning of the previous week during that weekend when we're recording, and then we take you all the way by the end of the episode when we get to the gentleman's bet, what's going to be coming up on the horizon over the next couple of weeks and into that next weekend. So it's a really good idea to listen to us, let us digest a lot of media for you so that you don't get oversaturated throughout the week and you can enjoy your weekend and plan it out by saying, here's the hits, here's the misses, and here's how I can do my weekend
the Player Way.
Yeah, once again with the Player Way drop. That is just majestic. So with no further ado, let's get it started. So D, what we got?
You are watching a master at work.
Something that we talked about last week, something that we talked about Thursday for people who just now was listening was seeing the video of Todd McFarlane and just kind of made me a little bit nostalgic. So seeing that Spawn was recently added to Netflix, I started to watch that movie, and then I was and after 7 minutes into it, I did stop it, but not because of the movie, because of several things. First of all, I was immediately reminded of my age and the fact that this came out in 1997, and I'm like, wait a minute, this movie came out 20 years ago. Michael Jai White was Al Simmons 20 years ago. And so I decided to pause even further, fire up that HBO Go, and actually go back and watch the series Spawn, Todd McFarlane's Spawn, where it starts out with him at the drawing board, him posing those questions. What would you do if this was your life and you have 4 seconds to make the decision? You see him drawing, and man, I remember that this was a graphic cartoon, but this is a graphic cartoon. We're talking sex, drugs, and rock and roll, everything. Just bloody from the jump, broken bones, and I'm just I've already watched the first season. It's only 6 episodes, but I'm definitely going to be finishing that. And as I'm watching this, I'm enjoying it still. Like it reminds me of an adult version of X-Men, because the animation, I don't know if you remember, BK, the animation of X-Men and Spawn were very, very similar. Production companies.
Yes, they were.
Work together.
Yes, they were. Absolutely.
And as I'm looking at it, the idea of a new Spawn coming out over the next year or so, it would really be exciting to see. Now, as when Nate showed me the article and then the $10 million budget, it is kind of like heartbreaking to hear that. However, it would be really incredible just to see this movie actually again. So I'm watching the series. It's been taking up a good amount of my time, and it just reminds me, man, even though it's been 20 years, man, there's still things like that from those time periods that hold up, that are interesting, that make you appreciate the plethora of technology and ways we have to curate our media nowadays, as opposed to back in the days when we had to watch long movies on 2 VHSs. You know what I'm talking about, BK?
I agree.
You know what I'm talking about, that old tech?
Absolutely, and I definitely got something for that old tech. I'm glad you hit that hashtag TBT on this episode, because this episode may talk about a couple of throwback things, but just to kind of, to go back over your point again, because you made some really good points. It kind of reminds you that in a world where reboot is like the thing to do nowadays,
first of all, I'm sorry to interrupt. You just said reboot, and I immediately thought of the series. You just got
exactly. Exactly. So like, it's one of those things where like rebooting series is just something people. To cash in on that nostalgia. That's what people want to do now. That's what studios want to do, rather, these days. And while that's great and all to get updated technology to old stories that we love and cherish, the danger of it is to devalue the intellectual property that's already out there. There's all kinds of great things. You don't have to invent the wheel every single time. Take the Rocky series, for example. I had a really tough week this week. And at work, and especially toward the end of the weekend, ended up working really late Friday night and into Saturday morning pretty early. And when I got home Friday night late, my wife Rachel, not only did she have some comestibles ready for me, to use Derreck's word, but she also had a gift for me. And she's like, I was thrift shopping. What?
Oh, did she have $20 in her pocket?
What? That's right. Rachel and I, we love to thrift shop, and we always are searching for a come up. There's so many great things you can get, especially if you're in doing podcasting and stuff like this. You can get all kinds of technology for dirt cheap if you do things the player way when you're shopping. So when she went to this Goodwill place, and she found this vinyl record, right? And she brings it home to me and she said, "Look what I found." And I'm like, "You found the original Rocky 3 soundtrack on vinyl?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I get that." Because my wife, she's into like
Rocky 3,
restoring old.
That is your favorite Rocky, isn't it?
Hey woman. Won't you
Exactly. Can I just say one thing about Rocky 3?
Yeah, good.
Rocky 3 was the movie that gave me my earliest impression of Los Angeles.
Yes.
When they go to train and he's staying at that like seedy motel.
Yes.
He's looking out the window and he sees like this dystopian city.
Yes.
When I first moved here, I was thinking like, God, I'm like Rocky.
Exactly.
I'm gonna move to this wasteland.
Exactly. You got to go back to the beginning, right? We got to get that eye of the tiger back. So yes, for that and many reasons, Rocky 3 is my favorite. But so Rachel knows this. She brings this vinyl record, and I'm like, well, we don't have that kind of record player at our house. We have like the really old Victrola type record players here. And as I looked at the record, she was like, "You don't know about this?" And I'm like, "What?" My wife works in technology too. She works in audiovisual type stuff too. And she's like, "Oh my goodness, I beat
Rocky
you!
3
I got
behind you.
Oh yeah, I beat you. I got something that you don't know about. So I look at the disc. I look at the vinyl record cover again, even closer, and it says capacitance electronic disc on it. And I'm like, oh what? I started doing my Googling, and I'm like, is this like Laserdisc? No. Apparently, back in the 70s, because Laserdisc is older than most people realize. Like back in the 70s, there were like
60s
three
even,
different
man.
media. Yeah, even in the 60s. But 70s was like where it was really going. If you were up in the upper echelon, if you were like a nerd, if you were a rich person who really had all of their... If you were a Jason Bateman type of guy. Was it Jason Bateman? Was that the character's name?
Jason Bateman
acting,
is the actor in Arrested Development. Michael Blue.
No, I'm thinking about... What was his name?
West Side Story.
American
Patrick
Psycho.
Bateman?
Patrick Bateman.
Patrick Bateman.
Patrick Bateman.
Oh,
exactly.
American
exactly.
Horror. Gotcha.
If you were a Patrick Bateman type
American
back
Psycho.
in the day,
American Psycho.
and you were,
I didn't mean American Horror.
Exactly. And you were all about like having the best stuff and showing off for people. You were into having Laserdisc, but not only were you into the Laserdisc was like the Blu-ray of the day. Capacitance electronic disc, which is a media that most of us have never heard of because it kind of died at like 82, 83. It was on the other side. Laserdisc was the beginning of digital. Capacitance electronic disc was kind of the typification of what analog could do. It was an actual vinyl / PVC product, mainly vinyl, but it had a little PVC in it because it needed a little more
Structural
gumption
rigidity.
to it. Yeah, and more rigidity to it to be able to articulate the analog video with a like diamond needle. And so the stylus would drag alongside of it. Each side had 1 hour, 60 minutes of media. So the first part of the movie was on the A side, just like a regular record. And then the other half was on the B side.
Shout out to us folks who know what the A side and B side of things were, man. You know what I mean? People this day and age don't even know about the A side and B side of things.
I'm telling you. So this thing, I mean, so what it was is she had Rocky 3. I Googled, the Selectavision was what RCA made. It was called the Selectavision. That's what you played it on. You can't even touch the actual record on the inside because if you touch it with the human hands, it destroys the record. So you just kind of insert it in and then it kind of ejects the record into the Selectavision player and then you can fast forward and all of that stuff like you need to. So I'm in the process of
I feel like that's probably why it didn't catch on.
Well, it didn't catch on. Well, the reason why it didn't catch on is because Laserdisc was just, it's kind of like the Blu-ray thing where like the digital side of things really ended up winning out. RCA put all of their money behind this and it's actually stated that part of what destroyed RCA as a company, because it was a powerhouse back in the day, but a large part of what destroyed it was they put all of their money into this capacitance electronic disc. But analog, as we now know, history is 2020, hindsight's 2020 as well. We can look back on it and we realize digital was where it was going, and so Laserdisc was just it was the next step in the evolution, and it was just a matter of compressing the Laserdisc down to a smaller, and that's how you get DVD. So shout out to my wife Rachel for that little history lesson. Really excited. I immediately went back to the thrift store the next day after I got off work.
Did you find a
and
player?
I bought Rocky 1 and 2.
Do you have
Rocky?
I've only seen one of these one time in my life when I was a kid in like a grandparent's back room stuff where I shouldn't have been looking. So I don't even know anybody that would even have one. Like, tell me that you.
Are you referring to Papa Pete?
Tell me. I am.
I knew you were talking about Papa Pete. I knew Papa Pete had them
yes.
records. He had on CED back there in that room.
Oh. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put my late grandfather on blast real quick if I can, BK. Because
let's do it.
First of all, Papa Pete, he was a man's man back in the day. Okay?
Hold on. Before you get started, let me set the room for you. Let me put some Maze featuring Frankie Beverly on for you. Whoa, whoa! Now take it away with the story.
All right, this man, Vietnam War vet, this guy retired from being a mortician for 30 years and a contractor for 30 years, had as many guns as years that he was on this planet in his house. And I will tell you that if you ever went up to a TV, because he had a TV in every room, If you ever went up to a TV and hit the play button, whether it was a VHS, whether it was a Betamax, whether it was a DVD player, you were going to see porno. I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there. Anytime you hit play in any TV, it was somebody rowing. And he just didn't even care. Hey, man, I'm a grown man. I got shot in the leg for you kids. You think I ain't going to watch somebody plowing over here? I'm going to do it. And that's just what he was. That's just how it was. But yeah, that's the only time I've ever seen one of these, because I remember seeing a record, what I thought looked like a record, but it being like reflective like a CD. That's the only thing that I can remember in my image. So when you said something about this, I had to look it up. I'm like, I feel like I've seen something like this, but I couldn't place it. I never knew the name of it. That's an awesome gift, very, very specific, especially for an AV guy like you.
Yeah, well, see, what you're talking about, if it was reflective like a mirror, then that was Laserdisc.
No. It wasn't reflective like a mirror. It was black, but it had kind of... Okay. Like, you could still see the spectrum on it, I guess.
Then there you go. Then that was a CED. There you go. That was CED. It's awesome, CED. Man. Now, while CED did not take off, there was something called VHD that in Japan that took off really well. And so VHD was the same kind of... similar, very, very similar technology to CED, capacitance electronic disc. VHD was like slightly smaller, but played like more media, and so that actually hit off in Japan pretty well. So
what a surprise! The Japanese made something smaller, more efficient, and technologically advanced.
Exactly. So that's another reason why CED didn't really take off, because overseas everybody else was actually listening to VHD. But there's tons of actual CDs that you can find now. You can get them anywhere. What's scarce are the players themselves that actually work. And even now, over 30 years later, they still cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $250 to $300 for a good one.
Wow.
So that's kind of insane. And the CDs
such a small...
are like okay, and at the thrift store, the CDs cost $15. And you know what kind of discount you get for something at a thrift store. So it's insane that something like that holds. So it's so definitely when we're talking about throwback technology, we're talking about throwback items. That's what we're talking about.
Everything. And it's crazy how like those type of companies, they end up shaping what we go with. Like Sony made Blu-rays the winner. Sony was like, no, it's going to be these. Sony could have made Beta the winner, but they just decided not to, I think, because of the cost. But they stomped out HD DVD so well in the, what was that, early 2000s, I want to say? When HD DVD versus Blu-ray?
It was also... This goes back to the porn that you brought up. Whatever the porn industry backed.
Yes. Absolutely.
They backed Blu-rays.
Well, and not only that, not only did they back Blu-ray, but they kind of almost skipped over Blu-ray. Like streaming ended up being the next step. Like porn, Netflix realized, hey, we need to get out of the DVD Blu-ray. In fact, that's even why Netflix didn't even really invest in Blu-ray or DVD. Like, while the video game industry
I do remember the throwback option, though, whenever you're on your Netflix queue where you could pick HD DVD or Blu-ray. That tells you how long I've been a Netflix member. But it's crazy, man.
But they realized that the porn industry was going toward streaming, and that's ended up where we ended up. So Blu-ray had a very short window where it had its victory over HD DVD, and you could pretty much say that HD DVD went out of business because they did not get backed by a video game company. Everybody thought that when the Xbox 360 was going to come out, much like Sony went with Blu-ray, they thought that Microsoft was going to go with HD DVD, but they didn't.
Nope.
And that was the nail in the coffin for HD DVD immediately. I've seen HD DVDs, but to this day, I've never even watched one. So I couldn't even tell you what the difference was. I went to Blu-ray early. So that's
Blu-ray's all I went to just crazy. Because PS3. I mean, I've always played Sony PlayStation, so that's just what came with it. And it was a good selling point to try to make a point of why I should buy a PS3. I'm like, it's going to have internet capabilities, and it's a Blu-ray player, and it plays DVDs, CDs, everything. What else do you need?
But just imagine what the world would have been like if this capacitance electronic disc, this analog system that was able... Because here's the mind fuck for me. A record that plays video. Think about that for a second.
That's crazy.
A vinyl record that played VHS quality video. Like that, to me, that's what I can look at a digital, like the lay person in me, which there's not much lay person in me anymore because I'm into technology, but even exactly. But even looking at that, like that part of my brain says, okay, a DVD, I get it. The reflective surface, I get it. The laser, somehow
it's hard for me
to
put this in my
brain. Laser
brain.
beams, the freaking laser beams. Somehow that makes me say, oh, I can understand it. I've watched videos about it, but I cannot relegate how a analog record allows for video. Like when I think of an analog media being able to do that kind of technology and be able to do that kind of high-end technology output, I think about Zola from Marvel. Like this AI that exists within a bunch of tape deck hard drives, and it's somewhere underground somewhere, still alive, running this secret organization. Somewhere, some secret Hydra-esque organization still records everything on CEDs. And my conspiracy theory is that there is an alternate universe.
Conspiracy. But what if it's a conspiracy? Conspiracy.
There's a secret organization that still uses CED somewhere, and we will find out that analog has the capability to be superior to digital.
I think it's North Korea. They're probably still on.
I feel like it's like the competition between the cheap remote control cars that still had the cord attached that you have to walk with versus the one that actually you could drive. But I was so happy when I was 27 and finally got me my own remote control car with no wires.
Exactly.
North Korea.
So, Nate, what you up to?
I heard a missile reached Alaska, Nate. I'm just saying. Did you have something to do with that? You did go visit. I'm just saying. No, you went to South Korea.
Wait,
I was just testing you. Move past it. How was your week, Nate, again?
Well, you keep breaking up, man.
Yeah, I didn't. We actually didn't hear that last part. What were you saying?
Yeah.
I think you were talking about missile codes.
Dang it! So you did hear part of it. I was just saying. I heard they had a missile to reach Alaska. And then I was like, Nate, did you have something to do with that? Then I remember Nate went to South Korea, not North Korea. And then I wanted to revert it all back to just be like, hey, Nate, how was your week? So now here we are.
Yeah. I will say this. When I first moved to the United States in 2003 for college, and the question I would get the most is...
In search of a better life.
Yeah, the question I would get the most when I would tell people I grew up in Korea, they would say, oh, North or South? I probably got that over 100 times in my life. So that really just kind of brought me back a little bit.
Did I take you back with nice old-fashioned ignorance?
Yeah, some repressed memories.
I love how people refer to that as if, like, maybe back in the old post-Civil War era, like Reconstruction, where, like, if you went overseas, someone's like, oh, you're from America. Oh, really? From North or South? It's like, it's not the same thing. It's like, it's the same. It's like, does it matter to you? Like, is it, what will you say next if I give you a different answer? Like,
yeah.
Can we move past that? My name is Nathan.
Well, I started to fuck with people, and I'd be like, yeah,
yes!
it was tough. The North was, it's a repressed life. I had to come secretly. I changed my name to Petersen, to sort of blend in
a storage container.
Yeah. Well, back to what I was doing this week.
Nice.
I didn't do much this week. I spent a week in Columbus, Georgia, in the humidity, which really let me know what my physical limitations were as to running outside.
17.
When you were chewing on that H2O,
yeah,
as you were running through the.
I am happy to be back, in a humidity-free lifestyle. The only thing we didn't really get to touch upon it last week because it happened after we had recorded was news from Comic-Con, with the one thing that we didn't talk about was they released some details about the Captain Marvel movie.
Boom.
With they showed concept art of both what Captain Marvel will look like as well as the villains, and announced who the villains were, and it is the Skrulls.
Man, when you told me that, because you and I were talking on the phone, I think, and you told me that, and I was just like, wait a minute, not the Chitauri? They're actually gonna go Super Skrull with this thing? Like, I wonder. Like, they gotta go to Super Skrull.
They can't use Super Skrull. So Super Skrull belongs to Fox.
So what do you think they're gonna do? Do you think they're gonna have like a guy like Super Skrull?
No, I think what this leads into Phase 4, which will be Secret Invasion. You know, the Skrulls taking over, which kind of might be a little similar to finding out, you know, Hydra's been here all along and stuff like that.
So is that kind of like where the Skrulls are actually like appearing? Like, you'll find out like maybe Tony Stark was actually a Skrull all along.
Yeah.
Okay.
Things like that.
Gotcha.
Exactly, sort of how the comic went.
And if that happens, that could also explain how he came out with the technology, the mind-altering technology that he talks about at the beginning of Civil War.
Maybe. You know, I personally, that's my sort of theory. You know, they could probably go in a completely different one, obviously.
Man, that's just like my brain can't even wrap my head around, like, the storylines they're going to be coming out with. Like, I can't even do it. Like, I mean, the possibilities are limitless, and it kind of helps out to where when they show too much in trailers, you can't trust with your eyes see, because then you get these stories and anything can be rebooted. Similar to what happened in Iron Man 3, where you hear that, where if you watched Iron Man 3, which by now you should have seen it. If you don't, we spoiled it for you. Too bad. But you find out the Mandarin is just an actor and the Mandarin's not real. But then if you actually were a hardcore nerd, then you find out there were actually some shorts created after Iron Man 3 to where the guy who was playing the Mandarin was actually got in trouble by the real organization of the Ten Rings, and so the Mandarin is real, and at any time they can put him in the movie if they want to. So it's you know, so like, and then you have about the Skrulls, the Secret Invasion. They can always come out with the Illuminati piece of everything. There's so many things they can do, and man, I can't. Overstimulation is a real thing, and I just can't. I white girl can't right now.
Can't even.
I can't even. Exactly.
With Nate dropping
speaking
that,
about,
yes.
Go ahead.
Speak about that. Can't even. Speak about it.
Speaking about can't even. It's time for the Gamers Gauntlet.
Oh my! It's already time for the Gamers Gauntlet. I thought we have one more. Not even. I had it. But we could.
What was your can't even going to be? What's your can't even?
Well, just that article that can be found on the Play Your Way podcast or website, Play Life Your Way. That cell phone footage of what we.
Man, I'll tell you what. Let me go back a little bit.
Literally.
And speaking of can't even, I can't even go on without recognizing our incredible team over at PlayLifeYourWay.com, the Play Your Way Network. Alex Maldonado, Ian Townsend, Darius Prather, Hale Shepard. You guys all did an amazing job this week, and we got some amazing stuff. Derek, give us a quick rundown of everything that's on the front page right now.
Everything is on the front page of our website. We got it easy. It's beautiful on your tablets, your laptop, your cell phones. At the top, of course, the most recent podcast, which by the time you're looking at this will be episode 15. We got the Alex Maldonado, man. He's all over the place. Him. We got the byline of Are We Breaking Away from Sequel Fatigue? We got our box office hustle, and which always highlights the movies, what are coming out each week, what we really need to be looking at. And the thing that's sticking out to me the most, that is so exciting, and I can't wait for the official release of it, is that Infinity War trailer that was leaked by that beautiful cell phone. I don't care that somebody's head was in the way, because there were so many nerdgasms in seeing that business, and Tony Stark took that right cross like a man in an iron suit that got punched by a god. That's the only way he took that. I don't know how else you take that type of damage.
And in case you went on YouTube like I did to find a better quality of it, don't feel bad that you ran into a Rickroll. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna Never gonna give. Never gonna give. Yeah, like, I mean, that happened to it. Like, this trailer was so monumental. It broke the internet and brought back the Rickroll. That's how important this thing did.
YouTube kept yanking it off.
Exactly. So if you have not had a chance to look at the Infinity War trailer, go on and look through. By the time this show comes on, there may be some more stuff on the top fold of the website, but keep looking through the metadata tags. Just scroll down, you will see the Infinity War trailer leaked. Alex Maldonado's got that link for you. And so that's a shout out to everybody at PlayLifeYourWay.com, the Play Your Way network, where you can continue your experience outside of the podcast.
The Player Way.
Exactly, the Player Way. And before we go any further, let's go ahead and transition into the Gamers Gauntlet.
You are now entering the Gamers Gauntlet.
All right, so Gamers Gauntlet this week, we're going to start with Hale Shepard's his amazing article on Hearthstone. Hearthstone, if you're not familiar, it's Blizzard's card game. Many people credit Blizzard Studios because they're behind World of Warcraft, they're behind Overwatch, and Hearthstone. Hearthstone was their first like mobile game for like iOS and Android. And if it wasn't for that, you wouldn't really probably have other things like Mario Run or Pokemon Go, which we're going to get to later on in the Gamers Gauntlet. But Hearthstone has got a new deck coming out pretty soon, cards from Knights of the Frozen Throne. Some really cool things going there. If you've never played this before, if you are a fan of Magic the Gathering, once you play Hearthstone, you will most likely quit playing anything else. You don't have to keep these big decks. You don't have to go to these stores and curate a lot of big decks. I mean, everyone loves a big deck. I mean, you know, a big deck will always be of use to someone. It can put you to the next level.
So as long as you have like playing. Like a large girth to the stack of cards.
I mean, yes, the boxes can have a lot of heft and girth to them. You know what I'm saying? Okay. But, you know, as long as you have a big deck, you know, a big deck's not everything. Sometimes a small deck is good, too. If you got the right cards, you know how to play them.
Right,
you know, it's,
hey, man.
Exactly.
As long as you're not, you know, shafting yourself, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. So, you know, Hale Shepard's, his articles for people who, you don't have to, if you have deck envy, you know, he helps you understand how to get the right kind of cards so that you can use your deck the player way. So, and really get that win, bring home that win. You know what I'm saying? Take that D.
Although you probably shouldn't hold a big deck for 4 hours or more.
Exactly.
And if you do, then
yeah,
I mean, go see a doctor.
Absolutely. So many levels to this conversation. So shout out to Hale. You helped us get some awesome innuendo.
Fantastics. Oh.
I don't know how to transition out of that.
Yes.
I don't even know how to transition out of it. Because, like, I want to go to the next story, but, like, my brain wants to continue these little hints, these little drip drops,
right.
These little drippity drops.
Maybe you should just stroke the deck to another topic.
There you go. That's exactly.
There you go, man. Spread it around. All right, you gotta spread those things around.
Listen. If I play with my deck too long, I will get accused of doing something that's inappropriate. So
you don't want to be too premature.
yeah, exactly. Right. You never want to. Exactly. Well, speaking of premature, Niantic Labs was a little premature in thinking that they could go forward with their first Pokemon Go fest up in Chicago, and we've been talking about this story for a while. Shout out to Weekly Games Chat. They reached out to me this week to give them the skinny on what's going on with Pokemon Go, because it's one of those games that people think is not that big deal, and you're like, why do they keep talking about it every week on the podcast? Well, one, because I'm the guy that edits the podcast, and I put what I want inside the episode, and I love Pokemon Go, so go screw you. And we're back from and we're back from a technical difficulty. I my ego got the better of me, and I forgot to tell everyone. You got a disclaimer. You got a disclaimer for us, Nathan?
Yeah, we don't want to alienate anybody that likes to listen to this podcast. Honestly, if Pokemon Go isn't for you, then hopefully something else we talk about is.
I'm something is wrong with me.
If you don't like Pokemon Go, go fuck.
And we gonna roll that just like that, gangster. Anyway, back to Pokemon Go. But anyway, Niantic Labs, they don't deserve the amount of love we are giving them right now, because a disappointed Pokemon Go Fest attendee has proposed a class action lawsuit against Niantic, according to Jordan Crook of TechCrunch. He posted this earlier this weekend, and apparently some guy who went to the Pokemon Go Fest in Chicago's Grant Park paid all of this money. Niantic returned everybody's money. You know, they gave him a refund for the tickets to the event, but he and his lawyer are saying, you know, giving us refunds on admission plus $100 of in-game currency is not enough to reimburse me for the PTO, all of the money I spent on a hotel, all of the money I spent on food, you know, if I'd known that. If I'd known that everything was not going to work at this thing, I would have never gone, and I would have stayed at home and got the same benefits that everybody else got worldwide that weekend. So Niantic, yeah, absolutely. So this guy is trying to assemble a big deck right now of class action. of like-minded class actioneers, and they are planning to sue the pants off of Niantic. We're going to keep you guys updated on this, but the complaint is on TechCrunch, and maybe we'll see if we can get a copy of that. But go to TechCrunch.com and look for Jordan Crook's article. Shout out to Jordan Crook, because he has a copy of the actual complaint, the class action complaint. Let me read a little bit of this real quick.
Ooh,
this is like the Fire Fest.
Yes!
Video game meetups.
I'm telling you, dude.
Where was Ja Rule when all this was going on, actually?
In New York. He was in New York.
Where is Ja? I'm telling you. Yeah, it says, okay, the class action complaint says plaintiff Jonathan Norton brings this action individually and on behalf of all others similarly situated by and through counsel at Zimmerman Law Offices PC and against defendant Niantic Incorporated as follows. Plaintiff brings this suit on behalf of himself and a class of similarly situated individuals regarding Pokemon Go Fest in Chicago, Illinois, July 22nd, 2017. Niantic advertised the fest as the 1-year anniversary celebration, blah, 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 and rewards were only available to those who attended in the fest. So, but however, in reality, those in attendance were unable to play the game due to the defendant's failure to account for the number of people at intended fest. So, yeah, it's a duty to, you know, it's a failure to, you know, of a duty to disclose that they didn't have everything, all of these types of things. Man, it's serious. So, you know, who would have thunk that a year ago when everybody was so amazed at being real Pokemon trainers that real money would be sued for? So, shout out to everybody. Maybe I should have gone to Pokemon Go Fest because I might have had a come up.
Yeah, you could have jointly filed a suit.
Exactly.
Oh man, that's rough for
Derek,
them.
did you have something else?
No, I was just saying, you know how you said with regards to what you say. I mean, millions of people play this game on the daily. So to have tens of thousands of people show up to an event that millions and millions of people play every day, and for it to crash once again, which are we really surprised at Niantic's ability to maintain server usage? It's been kind of quiet for a few months, so for that to go down, I mean, that would be, I can't imagine, like, for me, I would be frustrated, but for someone like you, BK, who's like a level 36 or 37 right now, if you were to take off time from work, fly to Chicago, and have even a minimal expectation, especially with how they promoted this, the videos of this looked awesome, man. They had, like, the Lugia, like, busting out and all that stuff like we just saw on the website. It's not a good look, man. It's not a good. Hey, and listen, and the good looks continue to not be good because here's what's going on. Apparently, there is a Safari. When is Nintendo going to step in and handle this the right way? Well, it's not. Well, you know, Nintendo doesn't own anything with Pokemon Go. It's a partnership between the Pokemon Company, who creates the IP, and then Niantic Labs. So while I'm sure Nintendo gets something off of it because of their partnership with the Pokemon Company, Nintendo doesn't really have a say in it. Of course, but check this out. The good looks the hits keep on coming because not only did the Chicago event fail, but they got Niantic
announced before the Chicago event that there was going to be a Safari Zone event happening in Europe in 2 different countries. And those events have now been postponed because Niantic apparently has come forward and said that they don't have, the technology is not together. Like their resources are not together, and they're trying to avoid these lawsuits. Yeah, they're trying to. So anybody they've made apologies to people on that, but they've pushed those things back. The Japan Pikachu event is still happening, but anything else has been postponed. So we'll keep you guys updated on what's happening with the Pokemon Go thing and anything. As always, if we didn't talk about something video game related that you wanted to talk about, don't worry, we still have you. We got you covered the player way. Hop over to Weekly Games Chat over on iTunes. They have one of their latest episodes is the Game of the Year rundown. They got like the top 6 games that have come out so far in 2017 that they think are going to be top contenders for the Game of the Year. My personal opinion, Game of the Year is going to probably be either the new Super Mario game, or it's going to be Legend of Zelda, which both are amazing games, but Nintendo, they run it this year. Speaking of running things this year, I think it's time to run things like we got 4 thighs into the Sports Rundown. Yes, it's time for the Sports Rundown, brought to you by the Playaway Podcast. Take it away, gentlemen.
It's time.
All right, that's right. It's time for Sports Rundown.
It's time for the Sports Rundown.
Do it, man.
All right, Sports Rundown. Derek, take us away.
Hey, man, I've waited for this week since the Super Bowl ended. I've watched the Combine. I've watched the draft. I've watched the OTAs. I've watched the mini camps. And finally, on this Thursday, my Dallas Cowboys are playing the Arizona Cardinals for the Hall of Fame game to kick off the preseason, which kicks off the football season, which kicks off the only sport that matters to me. All things are right below it. I can't wait to see my Cowboys, see what they're putting on the field. I know it's preseason, but they did change things up this year NFL-wise. It's not cutting everybody each week. They actually do it all at the end of preseason, so it makes it even more competitive throughout the preseason. I know a lot of people don't really watch it, but it is interesting to see who's going to make a spot, see who's going on there. So I am excited to watch that Thursday. And, of course, I'm going to be watching that Thursday after I listen to the Playaway podcast. You know what I'm saying? So that's definitely what we're going to be doing. And that Playaway podcast is going to have a lot of sports run down. If y'all absolutely, if you think that the Playaway podcast co-captains Derek, Nate, and BK loved summer movie blockbusters, and we talked about nothing but super movie blockbusters, get ready. All 3 of us are guys who have adamantly, at one time or another in their adulthood, was every week following fantasy, put money down on fantasy, really invested. And while we have all had our attentions wax and wane when it comes to fantasy, we all still pay attention to stats, we pay attention to players, we pay attention to the politics, and we love football. Okay, so expect to hear about football. If you don't love football, you ain't got love for football.
Go fuck.
We got 2 words for you.
Westside ain't got love for football. Well, we ain't got love for you either.
Oh, man. But with 2 minutes left in the third, the Atlanta Falcons had a 28-25.
Too soon, man. Too soon, man.
It's all right, man. My Cowboys haven't even sniffed a Super Bowl in over 20 years.
Look,
Atlanta's going to be playing in a new stadium too. Brand new stadium.
Another one?
Absolutely,
Did they just
man.
get one? I feel like they just got one.
Stadium.
We got SunTrust Park for the Braves, and then we're getting we got the Mercedes Benz for the Super Bowl.
Same sponsor like the one out in New Orleans.
I'm telling you exactly. Now, but see, here's what's crazy. Okay, you know, like how everybody around the country just shakes their head when they think about the lead we blew. It's even more pitiful to us because we were all like, we're going to win a Super Bowl and we'll be able to bring that Super Bowl back to our this new arena, this new stadium.
Oh, man.
And like, we don't even feel like we deserve it, bro. Like we drive past that beautiful opulent stadium and we're like, we coming off of that kind of season, bro.
Can you imagine if they were like, we'll allow y'all in. Y'all are going to play in the old place until no,
look,
people showing up for practice. No, it's not here. It's down the road.
They just better be glad at old ghetto black dad doesn't run the Falcons, or else that was exactly what he would do. All right. Since y'all don't want to do things right, since y'all want to do things any kind of way, since y'all don't want to listen to what I'm going to say, since y'all want to be disobedient, like Diddy, I'm shutting down the studio.
Y'all play across the street. Y'all play outside. Go play outside.
Now I want y'all to walk to Brooklyn and get my championship.
Go to Boston. You kick in Tom Brady's house. God.
Man,
I only say that I only got to rib you just because, like I said, my Cowboys haven't done anything in the playoffs. They had a beautiful season of 13-3, only to lose in the very first round. So we didn't even get to play you guys in the playoffs like I so desperately wanted to.
and shout out to Dylon. We had to recognize Dylon.
Oh,
we had
the
to
best
walk to
rapper
Brooklyn.
alive?
I rip and I rhyme. I rhyme and I rip.
That was
He had to walk.
This is the way that Dylon spits.
I had to walk to Brooklyn. To get a cheesecake, man. I didn't come here to do that. Do I look like a sugar cookie getter?
You're too cool to me, man.
BK, if I may hop on my little two-wheeler right here and say
get it.
P. Diddy was ready to whoop everybody who didn't bring in that piece of that cheesecake. And speaking of whoopings,
whoa, a whooping. Well, I'm going to take this one because the whooping you talking about ended with Daniel Cormier crying like a little. Exactly. That's what he was crying like. And what's sad is because, I was one of those people that was 100%. I ride for Daniel Cormier. I think, I embrace the grind, man. I love Daniel Cormier. But, like, he's now cried at the end of 2 defeats, man. He's just a crybaby, man. Like, come on, bro. So, what we talking about, if you don't know what we're referring to, no, we're not talking about the District of Columbia. We're talking about Daniel Cormier versus John Jones for the UFC light heavyweight championship.
He was definitely a manhunter last night. 95 significant strikes and 95
at
total strikes.
UFC 214, indeed, man. That's exactly right. So here's what we got going on. Let's give you a quick rundown. Let's play some music. All right, so we started with Derreck's favorite MMA artist, Volkan Oezdemir. Say it the way you like to say it.
He drinks lots of vodka. Lots
What's
of
it-
vodka. Where
what's
is
his
my
name?
birth?
And
Where
what's
is
his
my
name?
birth? Vladimir Rochester.
Volkan Oezdemir.
Volkan Oezdemir.
Exactly, and he defeated Jimmy Manoa. Well, the reason why this was it started the pay-per-view off like in a spectacular fashion because Dana White went on record saying that if something had happened with John Jones again, because as we know, the last time Daniel Cormier and John Jones had a fight slated, John Jones ended up having to bow out because of performance enhancing. He pissed hot. So Jimmy Manoa was actually booked with Volkan Oezdemir just in case. Is that just in case something happened? I love that you say it just like that every single time. You sound like a character. You sound like Revolver Ocelot. Like every time you say it, dude. I love
Yes.
it.
I feel like
the old school Revolver.
Metal Gear.
Exactly. Metal Gear? Are you talking about Metal Gear? Metal Gear. Exactly. But anyway, Jimmy Manoa who came in and he was
how that game changed our life at some point in the future. Can we do that?
we will talk about Metal Gear at some point for sure. But what we want to talk about is the game.
Man.
But the game was over for Jimmy Manoa. It was a first round KO. No one saw that coming. Shout out to Volkan Oezdemir who likes to drink lots of vodka.
Volkan Oezdemir.
Exactly.
Drink vodka
And,
after I beat Jimmy Manoa.
So we went on next to Robbie Lawler versus Donald Cerrone. Cowboy, he tried his best, but it was real obvious from the get-go that Robbie Lawler had him beat. Robbie Lawler probably could have put him away a lot earlier, but he still ended up winning it. Robbie Lawler showed himself to be a much smarter fighter. Shout out to Brad Davis and Scott Power. The three of us were kind of going back and forth, giving the play-by-play to people on Facebook who did not order the pay-per-view. And Brad Davis these notes that I'm about to say about Robbie Lawler surely come straight from his mouth. Robbie Lawler showed himself to be a much smarter fighter than we've seen in the past, and he took care of Donald Cerrone in spectacular fashion. So shout out to Brad Davis, man. Love, even though we don't get to see each other anymore, we went to high school together. Love, like, talking about MMA across different social media platforms. And if you ever see me online on Instagram or on Fight Night on Facebook, feel free to talk with me. I might share some of our ideas and talks on the podcast. So if you're all about that, holler at me and we'll talk about how to do UFC the player way. Moving on to the main part of the card, the top 3 fights in the main card, they were all 3 championship bouts. So that's kind of insane when you think about it. So we had Chris Cyborg defeated Tanya Evinger via 3rd round TKO. Tanya showed herself. No one saw it coming that Tanya would be such a hard ass, but she did such a great job. She showed herself to be someone who deserves to be Strikeforce champion, bantamweight. She actually gained weight just to take this fight. Everybody else bowed out. How bad Chris Cyborg is. Chris Cyborg made the woman who actually was the current champion,
which is the coolest name ever.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna mention her name because this woman, instead of fighting Chris Cyborg, bowed out. She gave the title up when she found out she had to fight Chris Cyborg. She just relinquished her title. She just didn't even want to do it. So crazy. That's how bad Chris Cyborg is. So Chris Cyborg, she is the true true woman in MMA sports who deserves that top spot that Ronda Rousey had for such a long period of time. So shout out to Chris Cyborg. Tyron Woodley had a boring fight to the point where the whole crowd booed him out of the he went down in history. Tyron Woodley and Damian Maia went in history for the least amount of strikes thrown in a 5-round championship fight. That is not the type of record.
These stats right now, seriously,
dude. That's not the type of that's not what's hot, bro.
Dude,
that's not what's hot.
By comparison, Chris Cyborg threw 75 total strikes, 74 of which were significant, in 3 rounds. Okay,
yes.
3 total rounds, and these 2 grown men, Tyron Woodley threw 57, and Damian threw 29.
Yes.
In 5 rounds, 15 minutes of fighting, we're throwing 1 punch
for a championship belt, bro. So yeah, Tyron
Woodley. Did they
Woodley,
have an arrangement or something in this fight? Like
what's going on is Tyron Woodley is spitting them alternative facts, and Dana White is not having it. Dana White had GSP lined up for Tyron Woodley and told everybody before the fight that while Michael Bisping was rumored to be going against GSP, but Michael Bisping was not getting that fight. There was no way in hell he was getting that fight. At the beginning of the 5th round, Dana White made a U-turn on that and said, I'm not putting Tyron Woodley on a fight for a while. Even though he's champion, I don't have to pay him. So that's one of those things where, you know, you can be the champion, but your job is to fight. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I know.
This is throwback to with the sinusitis. I can't think of her name, but you know, it like you said, and when we paralleled it, showed how certain professions have a specific expectation. Like you can't call in sick on certain things. You can't call it in. On something like this, 57 total strikes, when you have Dana White flipping a U-turn before your fight is even over.
You're talking about Amanda Nunes with the sinusitis, the chronic sinusitis. Yeah, I mean, at least Tyron Woodley showed up, but here's the problem. You're going to show up.
Did he show up? I mean, he was present.
I mean, to his credit, I mean, Damian Maia has a record for like submitting the last or taking down and at least submitting. I know at least he took down the last 12 opponents he had, and I want to say he even like submitted them too. But at least if not submitted, he at least took down the last 12. So for him to have to take down, for Tyron Woodley had to take down the Fitz to be able to like withstand that for 5 rounds.
0 for 21. He was
that's
0
awesome.
for 21.
Yeah, but here's what Dana was saying, and I agree with Dana White 100%. Okay, if you have that kind of takedown defense, then that means you should have knocked him out by the 2nd round, if not the 3rd round. Because
there was no point to drag this out.
Like, why? And it was because Tyron Woodley was too scared to make it happen. A lot of these guys, they just want to hold on to the title. You know what I'm saying? And that's the type of, we don't want to see that. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I'm really disappointed because I'm a big fan of Tyron Woodley.
Champion pedigree. That's the I say champion pedigree, the champion mentality. Being hungry to go get the belt. There's always the difference between a challenger and then the champion that still has the mentality of a challenger. When Muhammad Ali, I know we're talking about boxing and UFC, when he had the title, he was like, I dare somebody to try to take this from me. When he fought Joe Frazier, he put his life literally on the line to defend it against that man.
And that's exactly what commentator Joe Rogan invoked. He said that Daniel Cormier versus John Jones is Ali versus Frazier of today. So it was an amazing fight. Daniel Cormier looked the best he's ever looked. I know we talked earlier, and I talked about him crying like a... Yeah, he cried like a... Exactly.
Yeah,
Even though he cried like that... I did my best. I did my best.
Shout out to Dane Cook.
Man. Yes, I did my
DC.
best. Exactly.
Speaking of DC, Daniel Cormier.
Yeah, absolutely, dude.
Did
John
his best
Jones.
as well.
Bro, that's... I see what you did there. I like that.
Man.
Hashtag dad jokes. But anyway, John Jones defeated Daniel Cormier in the third round. The first round I was watching, I gave to John Jones. Second round for sure went to Daniel Cormier. So going to that third round, I told you I was talking to my homies, Brad Davis and Scott Power, and I was saying he's going to fall apart. Daniel Cormier is going to fall apart in the third round. And no sooner than I said that, it began to happen. Daniel Cormier really took his feet off the gas. John Jones really found his zone. He's found his reach advantage. You know, you expected John Jones after, like, I think it's somewhere like, I can't even remember how many days he's been off. I don't even want to. I know it's been at least 2 years he was gone. So you expect ring rust. Expect ring rust.
Late 2015 when that news came out.
Exactly. You expect ring rust with this guy. He fought better in this fight than he did his last fight before he left the UFC. You couldn't tell he'd been gone for such a long period of time. You could tell that Daniel Cormier was expecting for John Jones to run out of gas. And in that third round, he was a little astonished. John Jones remembered Daniel Cormier's weak points and took advantage of them. He threw a little kick there. Daniel Cormier went lower, mistimed it, had his hands down, and give us one, Nate. He hit him with that. Hit him with that. Exactly. And Daniel Cormier started to tumble like a whole line of dominoes. And shout out to Herb Dean. He gave him every opportunity to actually it was Big John McCarthy, I believe. Gave him every opportunity to hold on. And they eventually stopped it. In the skirmish afterward, John Jones is getting ready to give his speech. Daniel Cormier finally wakes up from being knocked out, and he's protesting with Dana White. If you go online, you'll see in the far left of the frame, you see Dana White yelling at somebody. He's yelling at Daniel Cormier because Daniel Cormier is protesting that, why did you stop the fight? I was on my feet. I was doing it. I was intelligently defending. He didn't even know he had been knocked out. This marks the first time in a fight that Daniel Cormier had been knocked out. He'd never been knocked out before in a fight.
Wow.
So, so it was hard for him, and he cried like a... Yeah. So, but they didn't dwell on it. John Jones was super classy about it. And then he dropped the mic and called out Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar, if you don't know... he tested for pissing hot after his last fight in UFC, and he released an official statement that he was done with MMA. I think he did that because he knew USADA was gonna suspend him for such a long period of time. So he left the UFC and said he was done with MMA and went back to WWE, and he's been doing his thing there ever since. John Jones, when he left UFC with all his trouble, the UFC was a different organization. It had not been sold yet, and they were still kind of chasing being that NFL-esque type of energy. They wanted that type of energy, that UFC on Fox. You can even hear it occasionally when they play it on Fox. You'll hear that ba-da-da, 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 ba-da-da. You'll hear that theme when they bring that UFC on Fox. So when Zuffa sold the UFC, John Jones was gone at that period of time. And since then, the UFC has kind of become more, because of the influence of the only star they had left, Conor McGregor, it's become more of a prize fighting organization. Back when John Jones was at his height, when Joe Rogan would give an interview, they would say, "Who are you wanting to fight next?" A guy would say, "Man, give me whoever you want. I'll take whoever wants to come. I just want to fight. I just want to earn." That's that Cowboy Cerrone type of fighter. But Conor McGregor said, "I'll fight anybody, and I want this specific guy." And ever since then, everybody started taking that same thing.
Maybe I could do that.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember, hold on, let's see.
Can I read Jones's quote that he specifically said about Brock?
Go ahead. Yeah, because I'm pulling something up. Go ahead and do that. I'm pulling something up because I'm gonna make a point. But go ahead.
He just like what you're saying and what he said after the fight, specifically Brock Lesnar. If you want to know what it feels like to get your ass kicked by a guy that weighs 40 pounds less than you, come meet me in the octagon. And Lesnar did have a response today, but it wasn't anything like monumental. It just said, "Be careful what you wish for, young man." But
exactly,
I'm not gonna lie. I don't care if I am John Jones. I'm just not gonna. I'm not gonna go poke that bear. Have you seen that man?
Well, see, here's the thing. So again, John Jones has to do this though because money. In that time, like I was saying, the fighters have become more like prize fighters now. They started calling people out. Like even Mickey Gall got into the UFC because as an amateur he called out CM Punk. So they signed, Dana White recruited Mickey Gall just so he could fight CM Punk. Ever since then, people are like, that's my opportunity. If I don't call the dude out, I'm not going to make the big bucks. So ever since then, people have started calling people out. So John Jones comes back into a division where his biggest fight was Daniel Cormier. He's now eviscerated him, and now Daniel Cormier's got a long road back. The next guy who was going to be standing in line was Anthony Rumble Johnson. Anthony Rumble Johnson retired right after his last fight with DC. He doesn't have anybody else to fight right now. So in order for John Jones to stay relevant, to be able to make those same big bucks like Conor McGregor and not to be overshadowed by Conor McGregor, he's got to be willing to take on somebody who has just as much celebrity as Mayweather. Who better than Brock Lesnar? And that's going to be a fight. I mean, the dude is tall and wiry. When you had John Jones fighting against Daniel Cormier looked like a little stump compared to John Jones.
Just their weigh-in, man. It just looks like two completely classes of fighter. I mean, he looks like that next level, like Anderson Silva was. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That next level
and on top of that, Brock Lesnar
5 feet away.
Yeah, and Brock Lesnar has gone through diverticulitis. So he's long in the tooth with his career. He's over the hill. He got into the game really late. He's kind of let his body get chewed up by wrestling a little bit. So even though wrestling is not necessarily real, it's predetermined outcomes. The injuries are 100% real, and Brock Lesnar has gone through a little bit of that. So and on top of that, he's not wrestling all the time either. So while he is staying in shape, it ain't fighting shape. So I think it was incredibly smart for John Jones to call him out, and we look forward to that business. So absolutely, this was definitely so far has been an episode 4 scoring in terms of sports, MMA, NFL. That's what we got going on, but we got other scores to settle because we gave last week to the ladies because this is a man as well. Shout out to Girls Trip, still doing really well. Derek, can you give us a quick rundown of what the box office is looking at like right now?
Absolutely. The box office it's looking, Girls Trip is still solid. It's very, very solid. But Christopher Nolan, that beautiful pineapple eating man, Christopher Nolan, took the number 1 spot this past weekend at $28 million for Dunkirk. The Emoji Movie is in there as well at $25 million. And then Girls Trip, $20 million, only a 35% drop off, and that's promising, especially after opening weekend, to only have that type of drop off. And the buzz on this movie is everywhere. Everybody has gone to see this movie based on the opening weekend, and that's what these numbers specifically show. For Atomic Blonde to open up at number 4 at $18 million, which was only $1 million ahead of Valerian and the City of a blah 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 blah. Just
City of 1,000 Planets. You remember the name?
Let me get it right. Excuse me, Derek. My name is Cara Delevingne, and I'm in the movie Valerian and the House of 1,000 Corpses. And I need you to pay respect to my film. I am not going to let you be disrespectful to my Friend Dane Dahan.
Ma'am, may I have a Werther's original?
I'm trying to answer back to you, but you made me laugh. I'm trying to laugh. I'm trying not to laugh and be serious and be funny and do the voice, but you made me laugh too much, so I hate you.
Thank you. I'm not gonna lie, a little disappointing showing for John Wick, the female version, which is pretty much, it is a John Wick movie. They even have this comparing on box office mojo.com, our official site of where we bring you these box office numbers, where it's only like about $1 million difference after a 3.
Oh, hey, hold on.
Well, it's directed by the director of John Wick as well.
Hold on. Did you just say box office?
Well, I feel like you know what, I think I did.
I feel like you hustled that in there. How about we do the box office hustle real quick?
Yeah, let's do that.
Quiet on the set. Can we please have quiet on the set?
Yes, can I have your attention, please? Box office hustle.
All right, it's time for the box office hustle.
All right, cut and print. Beautiful guy.
All right, so box office hustle. What were you saying, Nate, about the director of Atomic Blonde right now?
It is the same director of John Wick.
David, is it Leached?
One of the co-directors, yeah.
Well, yeah.
And I believe he's doing Daredevil or Deadpool 2.
Gotcha.
Next.
Atomic Blonde opens up, like I said, at 4th place. For Dunkirk takes the number 1 spot, as I just mentioned, at $28 million, and Atomic Blonde is $10 million behind that. But honestly, we have a review. Thanks to Alex Baldonado, went and saw that Thursday. Got a review up on our website, and expectations for this type of movie is you're going to go see an action movie, and the general action movie these days are exactly what it is. So this is exactly what it is. This is not that surprising. We didn't predict numbers for this. However, I'm not really surprised by this. I mean, it might be a little bit lower than what I thought, but this is perfectly indicative of the market and the people that are going to be out there going to see movies right now. We want to see a movie that's going to make us laugh and have buzz. And honestly, an action movie, even though Dunkirk is an action movie as well, but action movies these days belong to Disney, Marvel, superhero. It's just, you're just not going to crack into that. Illustrated earlier this year when we talked about The Mummy. It was pretty cool, but the competition is just titans. Timing is everything, and the
timing is everything.
Titans that are out there.
And the problem with the problem with Atomic Blonde is because Atomic Blonde, I feel like it shouldn't have come out after Wonder Woman, because Atomic Blonde, the tone of it, the badassery of the woman coming in and running shit like she's got 4 thighs. We've already had Princess, the Diana, the she's already done.
We're not going to run past it like I got 4 thighs. Did you say she came in there running it like she got 4 thighs? All right.
Hey, she did. Hey, she did that. She did that. So Wonder Woman has kind of already done that. If you were looking to bust that, I want to see a female kick ass nut. You already busted that 2 months ago. So Atomic Blonde, it's going to be one of those movies that you're going to be like, oh man, that's on Netflix. Oh, that's good. I want to see that. Like, that's going to be something that
before I go see Star Wars.
So let's. I think it's time to get over to the gentleman's bet, because we need to settle up from that, and then we'll close it out for tonight.
Bets. Place your bets here. We got a gentleman bet right over here. Let's get it going, boys.
Okay. So, Derek, can you give us a quick rundown of what because it's been a couple of weeks, give us a good summary of what the gentleman's bet was heading into last week.
The gentleman's bet heading into last week, while the fans out there that did listen to our podcast and heard the hemming and hawing of the top 5 and this and solar winds and tape delay and all filtered down to Valerian and the city of 1,000 planets. And we all took our stand on it. Nate ultimately said Nate came up with a figure that it would be the least amount. BK came in solid right there in the middle, and I just predicted that it would just do the most out of whatever numbers we come out. So I'll go ahead and eat crow first, and I believe I had predicted 20 to 22, but either way, I was off by and BK had came up with 19 if I recall.
Yes, I said 19.
And Nate came in at 15, and the winner is a perfect middle between Nate and BK. So the
player
numbers, I
way.
guess, we're not doing Price is Right rules. We're doing player way rules. So Nate predicted 15, BK predicted 19. It was at 17 and then 7,000 opening weekend. So it's right between the two of you guys. Why don't y'all duke it out?
I'll duke it. Here's how I'm going to duke it out.
It's closer to 19 million than it is to 15 million.
Well, I'm going to say it like this. I'm going to say it like this.
Do it like this, son.
Even though my he's so stupid. Even though my motto is 0 L's taken. I'm going to take an L on this one because I did such a terrible job at predicting who was going to win the top spot that week. Predicting that Dunkirk was going to do 120 million the first week. I don't know what the hell I was thinking, and that alone should disqualify me from the whole contest. Making
Dunkirk
Nate the
was
winner.
what, 50
so
million?
Nate,
fanfare.
Yeah.
50 right on that. Yeah, I predicted 52. What's crazy is Nate
So we
took his
wouldn't be
original
so
50
close.
and throttled it back to 45 just because he and I were so close. And then I was like, well, then I'll drop mine down to 47. He's like, well, that's not cool. And then we went back up to 50. So I still
All right,
feel like
first
Nate,
win.
I'd
like to thank my mom and dad.
He did.
They've
That's
seen
what I
the
said.
rest,
That's what I
the
said.
worst of me.
Oh,
Now they've
boom.
seen the best of me.
Play that music. Play the music. Hey.
I'd also like to thank Eminem. His song "Not Afraid" has changed my life. And also Brett Favre, who was a personal hero of mine.
Yes.
Showed me the strength to persevere.
Brett Favre.
Yeah, first win.
Right, the strength to persevere after you
At least she was hot.
A deck chick.
So,
you
know, sometimes you see these scandals in the mistress where you're like,
so Nate,
you know.
I'm not gonna lie. Every time I hear a teacher-student story, I immediately look up the teacher.
Oh, dude, I mean,
the hottest teacher that I had.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got there from that. Great acceptance speech, Nate. Great acceptance speech.
Exactly. So Nate, you get to. I would say you get to name the terms under what kind of crow or how much crow Derek and I are gonna eat. But you've lost so many of these so far. So here's my idea. Here's what I think we're gonna do, because we were talking about how we're gonna do the shots and all this stuff. What I think we should do is we'll either go to Opera here in Atlanta or Havana Club in Buckhead, and we'll do VIP, and we'll split the bill based on who lost or won the most. So whoever won the most pays the least amount on the bill, if paying at all. And so I think that's a good running thing. So we got the pizza thing, then we got the VIP bill when we come here.
You saying that, BK, just does give me I have a quick hitter for you, since you mentioned money. I just have a quick hitter. I'm going to call this a dude I almost had you moment, okay? This past week for Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, because for less than a day, he was the richest man on the planet until Amazon shares fell down a little bit. He is worth ballooned up to $93 billion, and then it throttled back to $88 billion. I don't know how he's going to keep the lights on. So, dude, I almost had you. Shout out to Jeff Bezos, sending that text to Bill Gates with the selfie of "I'm the richest man in the world" for the next 2 hours and 43 minutes before the market closes. Dude,
that's crazy.
You never had
Dude, that's crazy. What's crazy about that is Amazon, I don't know. Amazon is like, I have a love-hate relationship with Amazon, because there's no secret in business. If you keep up with Forbes and magazines like that, if you keep up with the Fortune 500, Fortune 200, then you know Amazon has the worst reputation of any technology company out of that part of the country.
Right,
where all the kale and quinoa is sent to.
What is quinoa? What is quinoa?
Quinoa.
Oh yes. What is quinoa? Shout out to my grandmother. What is my grandmother? You need to get you some of that quinoa. That quinoa. My grandmother says that. So now baby, you need to get you some of that quinoa. It'll make you feel good. Make you regular. Get you some of that quinoa. Grandmother, you mean quinoa?
Yeah, that's all grandmothers that hear one health tip and assume that it's the best thing for you regardless. Like you haven't been feeding me fried chicken, pork chops, and green beans soaked in bacon grease for 20 years, but you tell me I need to eat kale right now? Really?
Exactly. I love my grandmother. Shout out to Beverly Waters. I love you, babe. But yeah, but absolutely, man. We it's
Shout out to Woody
like,
Watterson.
we got a little grandparent love on this episode, man.
That's right, man. We gotta love the Woody Wattersons of the world.
I'm telling you.
Oh man, what are you up to this week, BK? What are you up to this week, man?
Hey, man, I think we need to do some moment of silences, man. We just talked about grandparents, and grandparents are close to a certain time of life, and it's time for that moment of silence.
Like the end of it? Is that what you're talking about? Wait a minute. Don't technical difficulty.
And we're back from the technical difficulty. It's my bad. I made an analogy, and I expected my co-captain Derreck to not corrupt the system, and he totally corrupted the system.
Well, I have a new spiritual advisor, and he instructed me to corrupt the system on any day that ends in Y.
That spiritual advisor is Nate. Do you want to stand by that or not, or do you want to give him a disclaimer? You're on your own.
I think Nate, you have the moment of silence. This week. I'll let you take this
one. Yeah. Yes, you do, VK. You know you have that moment of silence for that statement that that somebody has to eat crow on by the name of Caitlin.
Oh, sorry. I totally forgot about that. There's so many relevant, non-alternative facts that have happened this week. I did not even remember this, but this did happen amidst all the things that were happening this week. Our beloved, let me think about this.
Wheaties box champion, Olympic champion, Commander-in-Chief?
Commander-in-Chief, thank you. I appreciate it. Our beloved Commander-in-Chief made headlines this week. If there's one thing that you don't do, it's jump on Beyonce, because the beehive will be all over you. But there is a bigger beehive out there, and it's called the LGBTQ community. If you remember at the very beginning of the show, I always say, ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between. I myself support the plight of the LGBTQ community. I believe that the best love in the world is any love. As a man who has a wife of a different culture, and I believe that you should be able to do whatever you want to do, love whoever you want to love, and be whoever you want to be. And our president, if you didn't know that he doesn't believe that, then you're a damn idiot. And therefore, Caitlyn Jenner gets the moment of silence, because Caitlyn Jenner came out and said, I cannot believe our president came out and said that he stands against the LGBTQ community having support in our military. And I can't believe it, and I stand against that. Well, Caitlyn Jenner, as Charlemagne the God on the Breakfast Club up in New York said, don't vote for the person that you want to stand against. Caitlyn Jenner voted for President non-Obama, as we will refer to him on this podcast. Donald Trump has done a lot of great things. He's done a lot of stupid things. As many good things as President Trump has done, and has enlightened us on how the process should work, and trying to drain the swamp and all of those things that people love Trump.
Like going to Twitter saying that he spoke to his military
I'm not going to comment on that.
And then his military advisor saying he didn't talk to me.
Well, I do have one moment. We forgot this happened a couple weeks ago, but we forgot to
go ahead.
And I feel like we should. This is our bad, but George Romero passed away a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Guy that basically invented zombies.
Absolutely. And reinvented.
Huge icon of pop culture. Yeah. Without him, we wouldn't have such things like Walking Dead.
You mean a zombie movie that's been stretched into 6 seasons unnecessarily? But that's just my take on it. Don't take my word on it.
Moment of silence for The Walking
Absolutely.
Dead.
The Walking Dead, as I've told BK before, the Walking Dead is a zombie movie. You have a group of you have an event, then you have survivors. Then you're going to lose some people from your survivor group, but you're going to find new people and draw them in, and then you're going to meet new challenges and then lose people. It's an hour and a half zombie movie stretched into 6 seasons. But hey, it has a huge following. I am not one of those followers.
I don't
Well, to
understand
be
how it
fair, the comics were really good.
Yes, they
really
were.
good.
The comics were great. I've actually read those.
Still going.
But the show is so watered down, and they by the time they decided to go ahead and start bringing in more of the comic stuff, they had already lost a lot of the soul of the story, and it's a story that's gone too long. I think it would have been more effective if it had ended, especially if they had ended with this last.
That's what I would say.
3, as Derek would
I think other
probably
people would say 5. I think that's what you're about to shoot with.
You can't protect a Rick.
We were just talking about that last week.
We'll take it.
I think that was funny last week. So anyway, so that was the moment of silence for this week. What you guys got coming up this week?
There's a new show. It popped up, I think, a week ago called Ozark on Netflix as Jason Bateman.
I have seen. Yeah,
I've heard good things, so I plan on checking it out. Finally, that's what I'm doing.
As I mentioned earlier, you already know what's going down
what about
Thursday.
you,
I'm
Derek?
watching my Cowboys put whatever products they have on the field. I'm still gonna wrap up that series of Spawn, and episode 30 of My Hero Academia did come out this week, and that is the definitive season finale. So there's that. I'm gonna go back and watch the last 10 episodes again just to get. Oh, I'm so amped up. They got the whole trainer. They got the whole villain. All right, I'm not even getting into it right now because I know we're wrapping up. Go. What about you, BK?
You actually stole mine, My Hero Academia. That's what I'm doing this week.
Derek.
I'm really
she was
excited.
a nice German Shepherd, and you won't hold your tongue.
Yeah, man. I'm really excited.
Give me that
though,
pity
man.
laugh.
I'm really excited about where that anime is going.
Ha ha! The seagull.
I'm trying to do it, but y'all keep making me actually laugh. Ha ha!
Gotta do the Sandy Rex.
So, shout out to my co-captains, Derek.
Corrupting the system. You already know.
And Nate.
That's me. That's
Hit
me.
us.
All right, Corbin Dallas.
I mean, now I will say, Mr. Corbin Dallas, I'm a little steamed, a little perturbed, because we have some of our fans who they suffer from a debilitating disease called rickets. And you have not been categorizing, you've not been journalizing their plight. What day are we in the rickets outbreak, man?
I've lost count because it seems like such a lost cause. I've tried many things to, try to take care of this problem, but nothing seems to be working. I thought chia seeds might be it, but no.
We mentioned kale. We should try kale.
We could try kale. You'd have to come to the left side of the country to get it.
It is day 84. Hey, it is day 84.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
Day 84 of the rickets outbreak that started in Portland, Oregon.
This is what we should do. Is we should create a Walking Dead show. Except I guess they really wouldn't be walking with rickets, would they? Just sort of 8 seasons of people sitting indoors.
Shut in with rickets.
Gotta figure out. Oh, man.
Netflix instead of Netflix and chill, it's Netflix and rickets.
Netflix and rickets. Netflix in 72 days since Alien Covenant came out, and Fox said they want to reboot it. Nate, I don't know if you heard that, but Fox said they want to reboot this. No joke, no
and
lie.
there may be three or two or maybe
or
one
none.
movie.
Or we're going to retract Alien Covenant and act like that one did.
Or we might put out a series of short stories on Kindle Selects.
Oh. There you go.
And we're going to wrap that up just like that. We do podcasting
the player way.
Yes, that's right, the player way. Catch us at playlifeyourway.com.
Peace out, Rabbit.
Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that. Boom. Thanks for listening to the Player Way podcast. Recorded in a single take from Los Angeles, California, Dallas, Texas, and Atlanta, Georgia, by Nathan Petersen, Derek Lewis, and BK Jackson. Our opening theme is titled Bound by Ricky Remedy, courtesy of Elysian Records. And our closing theme is titled Coconut King Diaries by Xander, spelled Zahnder. You can find this music by both Ricky Remedy and Xander, and many more tracks on SoundCloud. And remember, no matter what choices you make or paths you follow, just make sure you do it the player way. See you next week.